lle siwgw at ca na llainig, he a he, he e ia. Lle siwgw at ca na llainig, he a he, he ia, he ia.
Yéil Ḳa T'á, Raven and the King Salmon, based on Raven stories by Catherine Mills and George Davis, translated by Nora Downhauer. Ja Yéil away nicht wo gut. Raven is walking around on a beach. Ach eat yan uwaha. Ach eat yan uwaha. While he was walking around there, he saw the king salmon. It was jumping out there in the bay. Ach tuwu sigu. Ach tuwu sigu. He was thinking about it then. What can I do to that king salmon to trick him into coming ashore? He went some distance and found a green stone. Tsu. Maybe he put it on top of a stump then. Or maybe he put it on top of a rock. That's when he's putting down feathers around it. Then he said to the king salmon, Hade kinis ach. Hey king salmon, listen here. This little green stone is saying this about you. You got trashy gills. But the king salmon didn't listen to him. Ach tuwu sigu. Ach tuwu sigu. Then he was just jumping out there again. That's when he'd say to him again, Hade kinis ach. Hey king salmon, this little green stone is insulting you. Listen to what he's saying. Swim on in here. But the king salmon was just swimming out there. Ach tuwu sigu. Ach tuwu sigu. At some point, he really hollered out, Hey king salmon, hade kinis ach. Swim over here to the shore so you can really hear what this little green stone is saying about you. And only then he swam towards him. Ach tuwu sigu. Ach tuwu sigu. He couldn't believe it. The king salmon swam up on the beach. That's when he said to him, Kush kadan-a, kush kadan-a. Oh no, I realized I have to go to the bathroom. I'll run up in the woods first. Then he ran up, but actually he ran up there to get a club. He grabbed one and then he rushed down to the beach and he hit the king salmon on the head with it.
Ya hey, he na ya hey, he na ya hey, he na he ya he hey. Ayatki shanai khishta ayatki shanai khishta kin yatki shanai khishta khwkhita yesa shanai khishta ayatki shanai khishta ayatki shanai khishta kin yatki shanai khishta khwkhita yesa shanai khishta.
But the king salmon was too heavy for him. The birds that fly in flocks are his grandchildren. So then he said to them, to these grandchildren of his, Khati deshe, help me. Let's put it up here. We'll bake it in a pit under a fire. Well, then with the help of his grandchildren, he digs a pit. Run up in the woods, bring down some skunk cabbage. We'll put them on the bottom of the pit. We'll wrap it around, and only then we'll build a little fire on top of it. Then the small birds started flying. Then it was brought down, that skunk cabbage. So he asked them, "Where did you get this skunk cabbage from?" "In the back of here, at the base of the hill." That's when Raven said, "Ch-ee, just yuck. That's where my wife goes to the bathroom. Go get a different batch." Yéil Xa T'á Video1. You will go over 2 mountains, and only then it will be good. So then they started flying, and the skunk cabbage was left there for him. That's when he layered it in the bottom of the pit. Then he also picked up the fish from there. Then he made a fire around it. Before long, that huge salmon was cooked. Then he ate it. Ach tuwu yak e. Ach tuwu yak e. But he saved the tail. What did he save the tail for? He left only the skeleton there. So then he covered it over. He also rolled a tree stump on top of it. Before long, they flew back with some new skunk cabbage. So he said to them, "Something awful has happened to us, my little grandchildren. This tree stump rolled over on our salmon." Klahooch, hooch kichwusiti. It's gone, all gone. Ach tuwu yanik. Ach tuwu yanik. And here the birds, they are crying, some of them are. Chagach. 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 Ach Yéil Ţá. Ach Yéil Ţá. The chickadee was wiping soot from its eyes, which is why its head is black and they are white around their eyes. But the robin sat close to the fire and she scorched her belly, and it's the color of fire. Chut Cowduasai. Chut Cowduasai. But the magpie keeps trying to fly away from them. They're holding her back. Then he'd grab her. He said to the magpie, "While there are still salmon in the creeks, don't fly down to the beach. Only when there are no more salmon in the creek, that's when you'll fly down to the coast." Chatwishlitish. Chatwishlitish. Then he also said to the wren here, "You will always hop through holes. Whenever you fly, you'll be hopping through holes." Chatwudichwetl. Chatwudichwetl. He fixed up all those birds. And as for the blue jay, Raven is really combing the feathers on his head, combing each side up differently around his head. It's really fun the way that Raven fixed up his feathers. Aunt Juanuk. Aunt Juanuk. And then, only after Raven stayed there for a little while, then they ran away from him. That is how it happened. His grandchildren were the ones who worked for him, but then he didn't treat them right. He also instructed them in many ways. And that's how it ends, the story. That Yéil, he is still hungry. Ach Iyan Uwaha. Ach Iyan Uwaha.